Thank you for choosing to watch the Watchman News Headlines video. Our full episodes can now be seen over at Patreon with much more added content for just $2 a month. Link is in the description. If you cannot afford $2 a month, please consider using our Amazon affiliate link, purchasing from our Teespring store, or making a PayPal donation. All links are below. In order for us to grow, we have to make changes to enable it. Our time is valuable, and we have been one of the very few news sources actually dedicated to bringing you honest, hard-hitting, actionable news and information. Plus, for your $2 a month, you do not have to hear me blabber about these links. It's a win for us all.
Bullshit.
Thank you. Good evening, Watchmen and Watchwomen of YouTube. So we had a discussion tonight about precious metals and whether or not it's a good investment for, post-SHTF type of stuff. I think you might be surprised. I really think you might be surprised with the answer on that. As I stated, and I'm not going to go into it because that's for the patrons, but we're in a totally different time than what we had been ever before. And I think that as a result of that, I think the situation is going to be largely different. And where it might have worked out in the past for those that could hold out long enough, because as we discussed, it wasn't until 1974, right? 1933 is when they confiscated the gold and all that good stuff. It wasn't until 1974 until you could actually have it and do business with it and stuff. So a little bit of time. Can you imagine holding on to your precious metals that long before you could legally do anything with it? So think about that. But there's much more to the equation than just that alone. But again, that's for the patrons. Gonna just hop on into the headlines here and get through them and get them out. I do have one link that I had put out last night. And that is Nationalist Stage Torch-Lit March, Demand Return of Nagorno-Karabakh Amid Armenian Political Crisis. Now going to this morning, the news I put out this morning anyway. Iran clearly behind Gulf of Oman ship explosions, says Israeli PM Netanyahu. Well, of course he's going to say that. Cuomo accused of gaslighting after he rejects sexual harassment allegations as jokes and being playful. Indian Prime Minister Modi receives domestic coronavirus vaccine as country expands inoculation program to seniors. Russia doubles wheat export tax to stabilize domestic food prices. Beijing accused of using COVID pandemic to control journalists, and says a foreign media group report. New Zealand Prime Minister urges public to call out family and friends who break COVID-19 rules who let down the team of 5 million. Gotta love that. Pretty much everything on Gab, Leaks publisher offers private data of alt-tech Twitter users to researchers of neo-Nazis. I'm telling you, run into all these platforms, whatever. I do like the PocketNet.app platform. That's totally different. When you're talking blockchain, you're talking something totally different. But with that, you have to be responsible because, you know what? Not only can nobody else delete what you put up there, neither can you. So you have to you have to think about that. Let's see. Tehran rejects Netanyahu's accusations over explosion of vessel in Gulf of Oman and is closely monitoring Israeli actions. So that's kind of a notable headline there. Family with young child rescued, warned after camping on cliff edge known for landslides. And I want to say something because I read this article. Something told me, read this article. And it's heavily dramatized to say that the family was rescued. Nothing happened. They were reported because they were violating, the COVID-19 rules, right? Because they were out camping in a wide open space, and we all know that they're going to infect millions by camping alone in that wide open space. And anyway, they didn't fall. There wasn't a landslide. There was there was nothing. There was nothing that they had to be rescued from, other than possibly infecting millions of people by camping out there all by themselves. Let's see. Russia slams Twitter for breaking regulations as U.S. tech giant ignores demands to delete thousands of posts with illegal material. Chinese investment in Australia plunges to record low amid escalating trade row. EU-wide COVID-19 vaccine passport proposals to be brought forward by Brussels, says von der Leyen. Class dismissed. England's poorer students five grades behind the richer ones, says a report. That is absolutely mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. And I would go as far to say that we have much of the same thing that happens here in the United States. And I can use Jen as an example. Not that she's the example, but we've had conversations because she was a military brat. Her dad was in the military, and so she moved from area to area. And she will be the first to tell you that the curriculum when she lived in New Hampshire was totally different than the curriculum when she lived in Mississippi. And, she said that the education in New Hampshire was like several grades ahead of what it was in Mississippi. So she will also tell you that the demographics of people in those two locations was greatly different. Greatly different. In fact, one of her friends made the comment to her, because she had asked, in different words, where's all the people of color? Not in a disrespectful way, because Jen loves people of color. And she was responded to, Jen, you're the blackest white girl we know. So if that gives you any bit of an idea, right? And I say that in jest, but there's really a lesson there, okay? When she lived in Mississippi, do you remember where? Well, I'm sure you remember where. What? Columbus? Yep. Columbus, Mississippi. And it was a much more diverse area, right? Yeah. Okay. And then she lived up near, wasn't it Guilford? She lived in Guilford, New Hampshire. And again, like I say, I'll say it again, the demographics of people were totally different. Okay? And I assume that when you lived in Columbus that was like inner city? Or not? Or was it suburban? Or it wasn't. Okay. She said it was like a pretty good-sized city. But again, I want to emphasize that the demographics, right, were totally different. Okay? And the level of education as well was totally different. Okay? Now, would you say that the average person where you lived in Guilford, New Hampshire, was more wealthy than the average person of Columbus, Mississippi? It's kind of a stupid question, I know. Yeah. Yes. So that's my point. We have the same thing right here in the United States, and we really need to do something about it because it's not fair. It is absolutely not fair. You cannot convince me for a second that just because somebody comes from a poor family that they don't have the ability to learn as well or as quickly or as good as somebody that comes from a wealthy family. The only difference between a poor family and a wealthy family is a lot of times the wealthy families get their children involved in extracurricular education programs at a young age. Shouldn't that type of stuff be available to everybody? Why are we putting price? Okay, you have to understand, I know we live in this capitalistic society, and I'm all for capitalism. But listen to my point, because it supports capitalism. If you truly educate your populace, as much of your populace as you can, and you encourage that ingenuity, that entrepreneurship, which again, capitalism, you are going to wind up a much stronger country. Because there are a lot of people out there that are really brilliant, but not given the learning opportunities. And you're not only robbing that individual of those learning opportunities, you're robbing the entire nation of possibility. There isn't anything more anti-capitalism than that. There really isn't. I know a lot of people that disagree with that because their masters tell them otherwise. Fuck your masters. I'm here to tell you the truth. I give a damn less about your masters and their talking points. Japanese Prime Minister apologizes after spokesperson quits over expensive dinner scandal that breached ethics law. Yeah, I get a little fired up over that because I see the reality of it. I don't have masters other than Father Yah. Okay? I don't have masters. I don't have talking points because I don't suck the cocks of the Republicans or the Democrats. I don't. I don't have masters except for Father Yah. Not one. Not one. There's plenty of channels out there on YouTube and other places that claim to put Father Yah number one. But obviously money and the state and being super cool for the people is what's truly in their interest. Not here. And that's why a lot of people don't like me. That's the truth of it. You're not a victim of mine because I tell you the truth. You're a victim of yourself because you won't listen to it. Stop having masters other than the Father. Stop believing the talking points. Stop believing that we can't do better and go further than what we have been and what we can go. Because somebody else tells you we can't. Stop letting people lie to you. Whether it be politicians, popular YouTube channels, stop. Stop letting them lie to you. Truly empower yourself. And you can only do that with knowledge and with an open mind and serious critical thought. Not talking points. Not political ideologies. Not cool YouTube channels. Choice is yours. Let's see. Japanese Prime Minister apologizes after spokesperson quits over expensive dinner scandal that breached ethics law. St. Petersburg cop arrested for allegedly leaking information about flight on which opposition figure Alexei Navalny fell ill. Myanmar's ousted leader Suu Kyi is seen for the first time in weeks and now faces new charges as anti-coup protests rage on. Russia triples gas supplies to China via Power of Siberia pipeline. Russia factory activity grows at fastest pace in 2 years. This is Nazi Germany. Airline faces calls for boycott after Jewish family booted from flight over maskless baby. I thought that was kind of insane. How do you keep a mask on a baby? It's always Putin. Russian president engineered coup in Armenia because Pashinyan insulted Moscow's missiles. Western media claims. I don't know. I don't know what Western media. I don't think the U.S. has claimed that. I could be wrong. I don't watch mainstream media for a reason. UK authorities plea for mystery person infected with Brazilian COVID-19 strain to come forward. Ex-French President Sarkozy sentenced to a year in prison plus 2 years suspended for corruption. Being Muslim raises fundamental problems with living a Danish life. Political party wants would-be citizens' religion on record. Deep psychological pain. Japan urges China to stop subjecting its citizens to COVID-19 anal swabs. Yeah, I've got a question. How come our government has been mute? How come our government hasn't said a word to China about our diplomats taking it up the butt in the name of testing? How come? Are they weak? Macron says France's COVID curfew in place for another 4 to 6 weeks as contagious UK variant accounts for more than half of all cases. Ex-U.S. President Trump uses major speech return to warn Biden that crazy transgender athlete rules will destroy women's sports. I can't disagree with that. Come on. Use your head. It is not fair. You can't. You can't. Come on. It's time to be realistic about this and stop being nonsensical. Prague deploys troops on Czech streets to enforce severe new COVID rules amid record infection rate and a spike in hospitalizations. Discovery of Brazilian variant in UK won't derail plans to ease COVID lockdown in England, Prime Minister Johnson says. I'm telling you, the Nerf gun is a good idea. But you're against it. She'll be upset. She'll be mad. Right now, you could be shooting the shit out of her, right? And she would quit the slurping. But no, bad idea. No, can't have it. I've been trying to convince Jen to get a Nerf gun because Blue likes to slurp, and now would be a prime time that she could be plugged with a Nerf ball. And yeah, she would hate us forever though. I cut my hair, and she would refuse to look at me for hours. And I'm not exaggerating. She refused to look at me for hours. She was so pissed off. And she gets pissed off every time I cut my hair. It is every time. Well, yeah, later on in the day she started looking at me. But yeah, anytime I cut my hair, she gets pissed. She does not like it. Hilarious. We've got the most awesome dog. We do. Let's see. COVID-19 virus didn't originate naturally, but is actually a bioweapon, most Russians believe, according to explosive new poll. Have I not been saying that since the spring of last year? Well, before spring, the winter, when COVID became a thing. I said it right from the start, that it was a bioweapon. As soon as there was a connection made that it had many attributes, or some of the attributes of HIV, I said right then and there, it's a bioweapon. And we knew that early on. If you listen to Peak Prosperity, you knew it too, because they were telling the truth about it from the beginning. Canberra should reflect on reasons for poor relations with China, says Beijing, as Chinese investment in Australia falls by 60%. NHS providers call for urgent review into insufficient critical care capacity. Bitcoin soars after Citi says it could become currency of choice for global trade. Kind of just had a conversation about precious metals and why they may or may not be worth a damn in the future, and how this is going to play a role in it. He'll be gone in the spring. Belarusian opposition figurehead, I can't say her name, says Lukashenko will be removed from office in 2021. I don't have the energy to try saying her name today. White House refuses to release virtual visit logs and claims they are like phone records as watchdogs urge transparency from Biden. Virus reduces fitness of former COVID-19 patients aged 45 to level of 80-year-olds, Israeli researchers discover. Scientists discovered thousands of previously unknown virus species in the human gut. Syria and Russia accuse U.S. of funneling supplies on pretext of humanitarian aid to militants in war-ravaged Middle Eastern nation. Been saying that for a long time too, right? Obama was literally airdropping supplies to them. right? Left and right. Finland declares state of emergency over COVID-19 cases surge. Telling you, that thing comes with 7 rounds? Just pop, 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 right? And she'll stop. That's all you gotta do. Russia's wealthiest official, local Sakhalin politician Dmitry Pashov, so she gets louder. Oh, she's a trip. Arrested over links to Crab King murder and smuggling cases. Oh, I love that kid. She is so awesome. I don't want the vaccine. Jamaican running champ Vohan Blake insists he would rather miss the Olympics than take the COVID-19 jab. I can't say I disagree with you, sir. Quarantine hotel in Toronto is accused of running out of food and water as guests let loose on staff. Yeah, that's a crazy situation up there. Latvia, for the Latvians, Baltic nations president says it will be true ethnic homeland by 2030, despite fact that 1 in 4 are Russians. Amin condemns Israeli authorities after Orthodox Jews break into Al-Aqsa Mosque during Jewish festival. I'm sure I probably said the name of that wrong. Not on purpose. 2 Ukrainian diplomats arrested at border in Poland-bound minibus allegedly packed with cigarettes and gold. Hey, sounds like a party. Spain begins to ease COVID lockdown but says border with Portugal will be sealed for at least 2 more weeks. COVID-19 cases rise globally for the first time in 7 weeks amid variant spread and easing of health measures, says the WHO chief. Progressives make the last push for $15 minimum wage as relief bill heads to Senate. China's class action, Beijing bans teachers from using harsh physical and mental punishments to discipline school children. Parts of Texas were as cold as Mars during recent big freeze, as rolling blackouts visible from space. School shooting reported on first day back in the classroom in Arkansas. Duarte threatens to end military cooperation with the U.S. if he gets hard info on nukes stored in the Philippines. And I would bet you anything that there's nukes there in the Philippines. Mass craziness. Daily Beast uses Al-Qaeda torture survivor to compare Capitol rioters to Islamist terrorists. Just 1 dose of Pfizer or AstraZeneca vaccine slashes COVID hospitalizations for over 80s by 80%, an English study says. And it's crazy because we've got one study that says one thing, another study that says another thing, and it almost seems like somebody's paying for these studies. Myanmar military reportedly fire on anti-coup protesters a day after 18 killed on Bloody Sunday. U.S. inspector finds at least $2.4 billion wasted on buildings in Afghanistan in clear pattern of misuse and destruction. No, say it ain't so. Man, that's what most of our government is. Waste and destruction. Misuse. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And they act like it's a big deal to roll out $1,400 to each citizen after they've put so many out of work and closed down so many businesses. And the people allow it. They don't just allow it, they'll go and frickin' vote for it. Oh, I'm not voting for that. Yeah. You're the one who showed up at the poll. Not me. I didn't show up. I'm not a fucking idiot. Cyber war is imminent and will affect ordinary Americans, claims CEO of company that discovered SolarWinds hack. I'm not a fool. Why am I going to go vote when I know for a fact that my government does not represent me? Why am I going to go take part in that? That is my vote. Me saying I'm not interested in your bullshit is my vote. I don't have to belong to a political party or a team of people to have strength in my position. And if you do, maybe perhaps you should grow a set and use your own mind. Just a thought. A German soldier and relatives arrested over hoarding weapons and ammo and making extremist statements. Don't come now. DHS chief laments U.S. border isn't ready to handle influx of illegal migrants in orderly, safe, and humane fashion. Think about that. But yet, Biden's waving them on up here. Come on up here. Come on. We're going to give you amnesty. We're going to give you all kinds of stuff. We're going to give you the right to vote. Come on up here. I don't know what to say. I can't say what needs to be said. Because we're not as free of a country as what you think. New York Attorney General gets green light to investigate sexual harassment claims against Sinking Cuomo. What? I'm not against Sinking Cuomo. What? U.S. slaps Saudi officials with entry bans over dissidents' abuse and still hails sustaining partnership with Riyadh. Yeah, bad. Slap your hands. Bad. Right? Now, let's make that deal. It's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. U.S. touts patrol boats unwanted by its own Navy in $125 million package of lethal aid to Ukraine. Johnson & Johnson newly approved COVID vaccine met with pushback as Catholic diocese condemns it for ties to abortion cells. Well, what about the others? What about the others? You know, the same ones that the Pope has been pushing? What about those? Man. Father Yah doesn't like it when people mix business up with his name. And the same happens for these ministries that is fighting child sex trafficking and this and that and the other. Because half of them only using that as a way to draw you in. So you hand over your money and don't think twice. I applaud the handful of religious organizations, if you want to call them organizations. Usually it's only little bitty independent individual churches that refuse to even have a collection plate. Those are the ones that get it. These others are using the Father's name in vain. Let the chips fall where they may. U.S. won't share COVID-19 vaccines with Mexico as Americans must be inoculated first, says the White House. We have to do this stuff now, Biden advisor says. White House to start redressing systematic racism, not just wait for the reparations study. So, they're going to be shoving something down our throats really quick, in other words. Attempt at civil discourse on wokeism ends in clubhouse room coup. Jewish professor shut down as spicy white and demands for cash. It's all just absurd. Israel launches COVID tracking freedom bracelet as alternative to quarantine as court reins in spy agencies' contact tracing. You don't think we're in for some crazy times. You're as naive as it gets. Former CIA Director John Brennan embarrassed to be a white male, and critics agree they're embarrassed he's a white male. I'm embarrassed of the nation. How about that? Got one more headline here. Twitch reverts back to women after tweet celebrating Women's History Month is savaged online, but it's women with an X for an A. I don't know if that's a typo or if that's some new socially acceptable bullshit that I'm supposed to know about that I refuse to know about or care. Anyway, those are the headlines, whether you like it or not. It's the truth as well, whether you like it or not. Hope you have a good night. I hope you use critical thought. Stop supporting people that don't give a damn about you. And be free. Be free in every way imaginable. You can't be free if you're just parroting somebody else's talking points, if you're lockstep in with a group of people. That's not freedom. That's not individuality. Be free. I want you empowered. I want you knowledgeable. I want you free. Because that's what the Father wants for you. Anyway, I hope you have a good night. As always, God bless you. We do love you. We do. That's why I'm trying to free your mind as much as I can. Not trying to control you with fear. Not trying to read you a bunch of talking points or bullshit. Trying to show you how to be free. Anyway, be one with your spirit. And shalom.